Is 0 an even number? Yes. To some, it may be apparent, since even and odd numbers alternate, and 0 is right before 1, which is an odd number. But it also is a little weird, since 0 has special properties that make it different than most numbers. Some debate, is 0 even a number? For this video, we will assume 0 is a number. To briefly discuss why some argue 0 should not be considered a number, it is usually due to the fact that it is neither positive nor negative, and it cannot divide anything. As the denominator in any fraction approaches 0, the numerator grows to an astronomically high amount. If you have taken calculus, this may sound familiar, as the limit of 1 over x as x approaches 0 is infinity, which describes the same thing. The way division works is basically the antithesis of multiplication. Multiplication is a shorthand notation of describing adding x elements of y together. So 12 times 3 would be adding 3 to itself 12 times, and 3 times 12 would be adding 12 to itself 3 times. Division works similarly. So 12 over 3, which can be described as 12 times 1/3, is 1/3 adding to itself 12 times. That comes to 4. In the context of 0, 12 over 0 would be 12 times 1 over 0, and that is 1 over 0 adding to itself 12 times. Then we get 12 over 0, and this process repeats infinitely. To describe why 0 is neither positive nor negative, it is because you can add 0 and you will never increase, and you can subtract 0 and you will never decrease. However, 0 is still able to follow elementary mathematical properties like any other real number. Anyways, that is besides the point. Why is 0 even? Something that is even is not restricted to it being positive or negative, and it is not restricted to whether or not you can divide by that number. So our quarrels regarding 0 can be ignored. What defines an even number in math is as follows. An integer x is even if there exists some integer k where 2 multiplied by k is equal to x. We can plug in 0 for that x, since that's what we're trying to figure out if it's even or not. So 2 multiplied by k is equal to 0. Now we can divide both sides by 2 and show that k is 0. So, because we can take 2 times an integer, and as we discussed, 0 is an integer, and then yield 0, that shows that 0 is even. That's kind of weird though, right? We use 0 to explain why 0 is even. Is there a different approach? And that would be the module function. The module function is something every student is aware of, but is not typically taught in high school math. Basically, if you take integer x, apply the module function to integer k with x, you will get the remainder. In the case of 1 and 2, the remainder is 1/2. In the case of 6 and 3, the remainder is 0. There is only a remainder if it introduces some kind of non-integer number. Anyways, a number is even if said integer x mod 2 equals 0, showing that 0 is the remainder and that there are no fractions or non-integers involved. 0 divided by anything is always 0, as shown earlier with how division works. If I did 0 over 3, it is really 0 times 1/3. This means 1/3 is adding to itself 0 times, so since I never had any number at all, nothing will be added whatsoever, and I just get 0. Consequently, 0 divided by 2 is 0 with no remainder. So 0 mod 2 equals 0, which shows that 0 both acts as an integer and is even. Finally, here's something a bit more basic. Often in math, to prove something is or is not true, you have to assume something at first is or is not true, and go into your dilemma with that knowledge, and using that to prove the fact what you are concerned about is or is not true. So, if I assumed eating an apple a day keeps the doctor away is true, I could use that to prove the following, or disprove the following. If eating an apple a day keeps the doctor away is true, I am physically incapable of going to the doctor. So we assume eating an apple a day to keep the jock away is true, but find that no, eating apples does not prohibit you from going to the doctor, so I have proven that that is false. Consequently, let's assume 0 is an even number. So we know in just the most basic level of arithmetic, whatever, first grade math, odd plus odd equals even plus even equals even, and odd plus even equals odd. So if we do something like add 0 to an even number, we should result with an even number, yes? And we do. 0 plus 2 is 2, and 2 is even, so 0 is even. Our assumption of 0 being even was correct. That is it for this video, but let me know what you think. This was just something I thought about making because I never see this discussed outside of the classroom, and I like getting people interested in math, so making a fun video on it is of interest to me.